Hey you guys, this is an introductory video to the sewing machine. I'm going to talk about some of the parts and pieces of it and how it works. So this is the main machine up here on the top, and then it has another section down here. This is the foot pedal. It's like the gas pedal on a car. You might have bigger foot pedals, you might have littler foot pedals, it depends on your machine. This is the Bernina machine, and on the Bernina machine there's no on-off switch. So as soon as I push that foot pedal, that machine is going to run. So you want to make sure that your foot is never on the foot pedal unless you are actually sewing. Up here, some of the parts of this machine are the hand wheel. The hand wheel always moves towards you with the thumb at top and coming in. The Bernina has a big hand wheel and a little hand wheel. We'll talk about that later. We're just going to worry about the big one right now. And if I come over here, the hand wheel makes the needle move up and down. It also makes the thread take-up lever move up and down. It also makes the feed dogs move up and down, those spiky things. And on the Berninas and the other front load machines, the other brothers, the light blue brothers, it moves the bobbin area. This part that's moving around right here, that's what allows the bobbin thread, which is the little spool of thread that lives down here, to come up and hook up with the upper thread that will live up in here. And then they create loops with each other, and that is how you sew. Here, closer into this little area, you've got a bunch of different things. This is the throat plate. These lines on the throat plate are called seam guides. This is the presser foot. It moves. It's got a little ankle, and it's got a little set of toes there. This is the needle. These are the feed dogs. They are the conveyor belt. They grab the fabric and pull it through. The fabric goes from the front of the machine through and into the back. Up here at the top on this Bernina, we have the tension ditch. There's this little disc in here. The thread goes through there, and it allows the thread to move at a good speed from where the spool of thread would live, the spool pins, and then this thread would go from the spool pin through all of this stuff in a very set way, which I'll show you, and then eventually to the needle. It goes from the spool pin to a thread guide in the back, a tension ditch around this thread guide, up to the thread take-up lever, down through this thread guide, and then through the needle, then through the presser foot and off the back of the machine. On the Bernina, you've got three things that can control the stitches. This big red knob controls the width. So at 0, it sews straight, and at 4, it goes way back and forth. This little knob actually moves the needle back and forth. See how the needle is moving? That moves the needle back and forth, and you want to have this straight up and down. I think that's straight up and down. So that the needle is right in the center of your presser foot. Then this control, when you push it up, let me move it down a little bit. When you push it up, it sews backwards. That's your back stitch. And when you adjust it by spinning this knob, it's adjusting the length of the stitch. This little picture is supposed to show a little tiny short stitch versus a big long stitch, and this is supposed to indicate kind of a U-turn, that when I push this up, it sews backwards. Up here is how you control the pattern on this machine. You take this and you push it over to the right and you slide it up and you set it at the pattern that you want. So if I wanted it to be at the rolling mountains, I would push it out and put it up so that the line on this lines up to the line on here. This button, or knob I should say, on the Bernina, it can turn the needle on and off. So you want it to be at this zigzag dashed line. If you spin it to this big tic-tac-toe board and you try to move your hand wheel, the feed dogs, oops, did I say this turns the needle on and off? No, this turns the feed dogs on and off. Over here, if I zoom in, notice that the feed dogs are not coming up. I'll show you again. See the feed dogs popped up, they popped down, they popped up, down, up. And then when I move the hand wheel, they move. The reason you turn the feed dogs off is if you're doing some sort of embroidery work where you have to move the fabric around at your own control. That's not something that we'll do in this class. Down here is the bobbin area. To take the bobbin out, you grab this little tab, you pull it out. This little piece of machinery right here, this is an $80 piece. If you break it, you buy me a new one. So please be very, very careful. There's an arm right here, and if you get down in here, there's a gap up in here, and this arm has to slip in to the gap, and it will click into place right up in there. And then again, you pull this out with the tab, you put it back in by sliding and clicking. If it doesn't click, then when you start running the machine, it can fall out, and that makes a big mess. Last but not least, on the back side here, we've got the presser foot lifter bar. Remember, I don't want to be able to hear this going up and down. This is a thread guide for when you thread the machine, and here's a good view of the spool pins, which is where the spools would live. This little business here helps you wind a bobbin. This little business also helps you wind a bobbin. It's called a bobbin winder. And I think that sort of sums up your controls and things on in your packet. Up here is your tension control, and that changes the tension in here. And on the Bernina, you look here to see what tension you have. And you should have it lined up so the red line and this little groove are lined up. That's what you want. And that is a little bit about the Bernina sewing machine.